Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of our Summit Sit-Downs during our Explore the Summit Week. It's week number 3, and we have a great group of people from Oral Roberts University to chat diversity and inclusion with us today. We're joined by Senior Associate Athletic Director Scott Williams. We are joined by the head volleyball coach, Frank Craig. We are joined by track and field student athlete, Joshua Tabla, and the Director of Athletic Academics, Helen Torgeson. Really appreciate all of you joining us. It's a topic that's it's important in the society that we're living in right now. 2020 has been crazy enough, but we just want to give you guys an opportunity to share why it's important to you. So Scott, why don't you get us started with that?
Hey, Ryan. First off, thanks for hosting us, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to discuss this important initiative. I'm going to kind of address it from a couple of different perspectives. Number one, it's important to me from a professional standpoint because this is important to our student athletes and our coaches. I view our role as administrators as being a role here to serve our student athletes and our coaches to set them up to achieve at the highest levels. And one of the things that happened during the summer when some of the things were going on around the country, I had some student athletes reach out to me and say, hey, this is important to us. This is something that, we'd like to see addressed. We'd like to have some conversations about, and that right there, open the door from a professional standpoint for me to help meet the needs of those student athletes, particularly this group who has served in a leadership role for us over the past 2 or 3 years. And so that I view as my professional responsibility. From a personal standpoint, it's very important to me. Being a white male, I have not experienced the challenges that people who come from different cultural, different ethnic backgrounds have experienced it. So I don't have that personal experience that I can relate to, but I can tell you that from a personal standpoint, it hurts me to think that any individual can feel like or be treated in a manner where they feel devalued because of the color of their skin or because of where they come from. And that's just not right. That's not the way that I was raised, and that's not the reason why I work at ORU. And I think a lot of it comes back for me to my faith and what I believe in. And I believe that God created all of us, and He created all of us in a unique way for a specific purpose. And I believe my responsibility, as it's outlined for me, is to love my fellow man and love them and treat them in a way that I would want to be treated. And so that's why, from a personal standpoint, I think it is our responsibility to dive into this thing and make changes so that we can achieve that utopian culture that we should have.
Absolutely. I agree 100% just from being a white male, and hearing the first 2 conversations with South Dakota and Omaha have certainly been impactful for me, just being able to moderate these conversations. And I'm looking forward to sharing this with you guys again at Oral Roberts and learning even more as I go on. So we really appreciate what you had to say. Coach Craig, why is it important to you?
So with me, on the personal side, because I am a black male, life's been different, but in all different aspects.
Right.
When I became a head coach, I think it just became even more important because now it wasn't about me. It's about, the student athletes, it's about the program, it's about the university. And then of course, my family too. But on this side, when it really hit home for me, and when we saw the whole thing with George Floyd, my heart sank, and it sank because when I thought of my girls, the ones who were minorities, when they saw that image, I felt that they saw their brother, they saw their father, they saw their uncle, and I wasn't sure who they were going to be reaching out to, or who needed to reach out to them. So I texted all of them together, and had multiple Zoom calls with them just so that they felt supported. And that was in my profession. I was like, professionally, I was like, okay, I think and feel this is what needs to happen, because I'm not sure what they're feeling, but I felt called to just reach out to them, with everything just going on, and just trying to clear things up for them. And then the second part was, okay, so now I'm a head coach. Coaches, who didn't look like me, did they feel the same? And were they reaching out to their student athletes? So I felt that it was very important to me to reach out to my other, my fellow coaches, and just ask them, hey, I just want to let you know, just to reach out to your kids, and just, just have them feel supported. And that was like one of the first like initiatives, was to just truly, as a program and everything happening, it's like I'm just reaching out to the kids and just feeling supported. And I felt like that was a huge deal for student athletes. And just like what Scott mentioned, them reaching out, and because they knew that this was important to them, and now being on the task force, it's now creating educational pieces to all universities who may not know what to do when things like this, happens. I'm not, that to being sure, being a white male, I don't know how you would, maneuver and move in such a way of understanding, other than just being, that conversational piece, or even, tinkering around it, because you're just not too sure what's going to happen. So yeah, for me, it's very important now, because now I get to be a part of something where you get to create the educational pieces, for a staff, for your student athletes, just for everyone, just to just be better and just be more unified. And then with my program now, I mean, I have a whole all minority staff, and I think the conversation has been easier. But it's not like it's everything we talk about. It's if they're wanting to talk about it, I know they feel comfortable enough to talk about it with, and that's everyone on our team. And so I think that's a really, really great thing that we have. I mean, of course, we're not experts of it, but I mean, we have some insight where we can all just be a little bit better, and just making sure we lead with love in the first point. And I think that's very important. And of course, to my faithers, always lead with love, and life is going to work itself out. So
Great, good stuff. And I know conversations are a big part of this, just being able to be bold enough to have those conversations. So certainly appreciate what you're doing, not only for your program, but even reaching out to those other programs and other coaches who aren't in your shoes that needed that little, push, or that little encouragement. So certainly appreciate that. Josh, student athlete, track and field, Coon Rapids, Minnesota. You're in Tulsa, Oklahoma now. Why is this topic so important to you?
This is a very important subject to me, because it not only recognizes that indeed we are different, but it celebrates it, and it creates opportunities for understanding. A lot of times people will say around the issues of race, when it starts to get dicey, like, oh, I don't see color. And I'm like, please see my color. Like, how beautiful is a rainbow if you don't see any of the colors? It's just an arch, But for me, I'm the son of two immigrants. Both of my parents are from Liberia. And I was born in Richmond, Virginia, raised in Minnesota. And then coming here, meeting a lot of even other Black people, cultures are different, but it gives you an opportunity to learn how to, other people were raised, how to relate. And in a place like ORU that has over 100 different nations represented on campus, it's super important to be able to recognize that everybody is not the same. Everybody has a different culture. Everybody has a different background, a different upbringing, but all of these are important to understand. All of these are beautiful things to be celebrated, to be recognized, and to pay attention to when people haven't have had the same experiences in life and are facing different struggles on a day-to-day basis. And just like you said, I'm from Minnesota, so the place where the George Floyd incident actually took place was less than half an hour away from my home. And so many of my friends and family members took part in peaceful protests. I was there with my dad on one occasion, and just to see the amount of love, the amount of unity from people who are fed up with these type of incidents was amazing. To see all the tributes, all the artwork, just the community of people rallying to show support for communities that feel oppressed, and also to speak up against injustice was it was a great experience. And even as an ORU athlete, having Scott Williams and Bobby Bear reach out to me during the summer when these things were taking place, it really let me know that the athletic department and the staff that work for us care about us, care about our experiences, care about our well-being. And so it's really encouraging to see that ORU has taken these steps to make us feel more welcome and to celebrate our diversity and uniqueness.
Absolutely. Thank you for the analogy of the rainbow. I mean, that's something that you don't really think about. And for me, like, that makes a lot of sense and really puts in perspective, you know, kind of what, where you guys are coming from and where, you know, the different diverse backgrounds and different cultures and things. Like you said, ORU has over 100 different nations represented. That I didn't know that fact, and that's pretty cool that, you know, it's doing so much to make everyone feel included. And I know, Helen, you were part of a committee on campus too, that a diversity and inclusion committee, and just talk about that a little bit and why this topic's important to you.
Yeah, first off, thank you, Ryan, for the opportunity, and just to be here today. It is very important. And I would say it's not only important to us, it's integral to our vision and mission at ORU and within our athletic department. I loved what Josh said. We're not here to be colorblind. We want to celebrate and identify and educate is really the heart behind the committee, is to identify there are differences. And a lot of times we can be skewed into thinking, well, that's right or wrong, but we want to move the narrative to say, no, we want to celebrate that. Tell me more. So really, I know I loved what Kreger said is leading with love. I think a lot of times leading with love is listening. And that is really, it's important to me. My background, yes, as far as a professional standpoint, I see every athlete as made in God's image, no matter the race, no matter where their country, what country they come from, like their background, everything about it makes up a person, but they have a story. And so I think as ORU, like I said, it's not just a part of it. This is something that we are moving towards more and more, and we're leaning in to listen. I know in my position, that's what I'm doing. My background is in counseling, and I've seen numerous different clients of from everywhere. And at the end of the day, I've been honored to hear their story and to come alongside of them. And so that's really our heartbeat, is how do we lead with love? How do we listen? And how do we celebrate the differences and change that narrative of seeing, you know, something as right or wrong? Even this morning, I'll share a story. I walked in the campus and there was someone from Zimbabwe. And I just asked them, you know, how is it for you? And she said, the first year I used to see differences and try to hide from them. And now I'm starting to listen to them and say, hey, that's a cool way to do it. Okay, this is a person that came all the way from Zimbabwe and delivered me my coffee. And we had just an awesome conversation of just getting to know one another. And I think proximity builds empathy. I think building relationship with someone And to have athletics as a background, that's very unique because we're all part of the same goal on a team. You want to win. And so we include our teammates, we celebrate our teammates, and we realize more than anything, we really are more alike than different as we get to know people and hear their story. But I will say I don't understand a lot of what my friends have gone through, my brothers and sisters have gone through. And so I want to listen and I want to understand to help. And so that's really, we want to celebrate it. We want to lead with love, and we want to continue to listen and, lead forward in that. And so I'm just honored to be part of a program that it's not only part of it, it's integral to who we are, and it has been since we opened the doors of this university.
Good stuff. Those are all eye-opening responses, and just you mentioned it, Helen. Everybody has a different story. Everybody has a different perspective, and I think that's what's cool about these chats, and it allows us to come together and open our eyes a little bit and sit back and listen. I think listening is a really key part of all of this, and having conversations and being bold enough to have those conversations and to, understand that we're not going to move forward unless we're intentional with how we act and intentional with what we say and intentional with trying to understand. But all great stuff, guys. Coach Craig, question for you. Just, you mentioned having an all minority staff in women's volleyball and at Tulsa. Can you talk about the dynamics there and how maybe that has helped some of your players be more comfortable having conversations, or led to more conversations?
Yeah. So some of our minority girls definitely felt more comfortable in that sense. But I was even, to even extend to everyone else that was on our team, that was still more so a comfortability for them to just speak. And then our dynamic is, for us, is we're always just listening. We're always trying to find ways how we can all just get better. And then it's about them. I think that was just most important. But the most important thing with the staff is just, it was just always about them, and how we get them better. How do we get them to pieces? How do we, just whatever they need to perform, to do their job. And I think that's just what's helped us the most. And then, me and just having my staff, we're able to collaborate. We're able to just pick up, where the other one left off, or to truly speak up on, like, hey, I think, we missed it with this person, or this, this student athlete, or hey, I think we really got it with this one. So I think we should, do this and do that. So it's all just a collaborating piece, and it's just been great for the most part. But yeah, just the other day or just yesterday, we talked about, we sat in a crescent on the court before practice started, and just talked. We talked about the national anthem. We talked about, just all these different things of what it means to them, and the conversation there. And I think it's just how we led it. Man, we got to hear so many different backgrounds, so many different thoughts, and the thing was, they felt supported. It's because we listened. And I just think that was just the biggest part to all of it. And then after that, some of the girls who saw things differently were, crying because they had to go put their chairs up, and they were just crying and bonding. I was like, all right, baseline, it's time to practice. And then the one girl, she goes, Coach, we're just bonding. I was like, thank you. I appreciate the bonding. All right, it's time to go now. It is just more so that they just understood what was happening. I think just seeing that, that's all we want. That's all we want to fight for. It's just making sure we're leaving the gym as one, being a unit, and just truly supporting each other and whatever that looks like. So
Cool.
I just think us, minority staff, we're just helping out, just making sure everyone's taken care of. And I think that's just the best part.
Yeah, that's great. Good stuff. Josh, tell me about your team, and maybe, I know you guys compete in indoor and outdoor, so that's after Christmas, but I'm sure you guys are working out now and being around each other. Have the conversations opened up more so, with this momentum with diversity inclusion within your team?
Yeah, we've had conversations from dating back all the way to the summer around these incidences, but just to check in as a team, and we had a team call on Zoom after the George Floyd incident, and we had a chaplain on, we had some of our team alumni come on the call, and we just had an open discussion about how we feel as a team, where people's heads were, and everyone was just had a great posture of listening and understanding. There wasn't any enmity or strife between members of our team, and everyone, had that posture of loving one another and understanding and listening. So it's been great. And as far as the Diversity and Inclusion Committee here, is something that I'm actually just learning about. I heard talks about it getting formed, but it was actually before we got on the call that I learned that it had been approved and is standing. So it's something that I get to go happily share the news with my team that this exists now. And also recently our campus has established an African American student union, and just the clubs like that exist and get to celebrate the cultures and the diversity of students on this campus are just really exciting new developments that are taking place on campus. So it's been great. We're making progress.
Yeah, outstanding. Scott, as a leader of the department and seeing the support that you guys are offering student athletes and coaches, and to hear what Josh has to say and what Coach Craig has to say and what Helen has to say, ORU seems to be, the momentum is going on and moving forward and good things are happening, but you have to be encouraged by, personally just what you've heard today too.
No doubt. I think I think that knowing that people are investing in helping our students be successful and meeting them where they are at, as opposed to expecting them to meet us at a certain point, I think that's key. And Helen, I think, touched on this earlier. One thing that I love about this campus, and although a lot of people say, well, it's a small campus and there's not a lot of people there and everything like that, it really does allow us to develop relationally. And that is key for us meeting these needs of these student athletes, is to be able to develop these relationships beyond just saying hello and asking a kid how many shots they made today, or how fast they ran on the track, or how many blocks they had, in the last game. It's really, hey, being able to get to know them as an individual, who they are. And, we celebrate it here because as Josh mentioned, we're incredibly blessed. We are an incredibly diverse campus. We have, as Josh said, over 100 countries represented in our student enrollment. 20% of our campus population are international students, which puts us at the top in the country as far as international student populations. And so then it's key for us to provide these platforms and these avenues to allow these individuals to express themselves in a way. And it's all done under this purview of we're all God's children and we love one another, and that's what we're here for. And we got to do it right here first, because then in turn, as our charge as university is set, now we take that out and we share that with the world. And our student athletes do an incredible job of that. I mean, we have such incredible participation with our student athletes from a community engagement standpoint, and then also with a mission standpoint. And, with our missions emphasis at the university, our student athletes are going out and they're touching so many different countries and so many different cultures and so many different people from different backgrounds. And so it's great to see the steps that we are taking to be able to better prepare these students and prepare ourselves to have this impact. Because again, that's what it's about. Have the impact here so that then that impact can multiply throughout the world.
Yeah, for sure. And it's important to, to bring to light that there's a lot that goes on in athletic departments outside the lines of the courts that they play on and the fields that they play on. Great stuff. Helen, I know that the Diversity and Inclusion Committee, Josh just kind of found out about that, but what was kind of the genesis of that and how that all came together?
Yeah, it's been a part of the university for a while. Athletics wasn't combined with the university initially in that. So that was a recent collaboration, which has been really sweet because not only that is we have in the center of our university, an international center. And so in that committee, we have every department represented. So the previous meeting I went to a couple weeks ago, that was really eye-opening to me because we have the departments of the schools and then we also have students involved. And I'm really excited that Josh will be added to the group. But really, I mentioned it, we want to celebrate individual identity. We want to educate, and we have different events that are going to help do that. One of them is what we call the Global Week. And so it's really a week-long celebration where we educate, we learn from many different cultures. We have a big, large meal at the end of it, and it's a week-long celebration of just tell me about you. We try all different kinds of food, like simple things of just coming together. Like I said, proximity builds empathy. We want to learn. And so we want to include one another. So that group has been, we're honored to be a part of it. It's new for athletics, so I'm still learning. And
Right.
Whenever I came in, they're so excited athletics was there. They actually all applauded, sweet, we're all in this together. And so really that's how we're seeing it. We also, it'll be in the spring, but we have the Martin Luther King Day Parade, which is one of the largest in the nation. So we will be there for that. There's the Black History Month in February that we're planning out a whole week-long event. So with COVID, right, how are we building this right now? We're not waiting till later. And so a lot of it is relational, listening to the students, wanting to hear, how can we help? Because it's about them at the end of the day. And so that's really where we're going with it. It was fun to hear about the different events. And I'll say, we don't do it perfect at all, but we definitely, I love the word, what is the momentum? That question was so good because really, we can say all these things, but it's daily. How are we practicing this? How are we giving them an opportunity, not only to be brought in, but are we listening to them? And I think that is a big part of the committee. We want to listen to what students have to say, what they care about, and then also find ways to celebrate the differences, because that is beautiful, and just like Josh brought up. And so if you have specific questions on the committee, happy to share it. We are new to it, so I've been to a couple meetings for it, and it was just cool to see every department. That was so unique to be a part of that. And then they want more student athletes, or can invite more, but I know with schedules and practices, Josh is sacrificing a lot to even be a part of it. So we're grateful for that.